East 4th Street between 2nd and 9th from 14th, which is obviously passed, to June 24th. We are open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This Friday being a jam session. Did I say that right? And Joi is an award-winning writer, published author, stand-up comic, visual artist, performance poet, and somebody's mama. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Already, both myself and Joi are Black Cafe collective members. We've been collective members since 2014. Actually, our anniversary passed. I was thinking about that. Because I met you in February.
Oh. Hello. Are you still there?
I'm loving my love.
I am back.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. I was just thinking that our anniversary passed.
It's a
Years. That's wild. That's wild to think about.
Yeah, it just gets wilder. These days I look around and my friend circle has become very small, which I like. But out of that, my friends, or at least the people I call my friends, are family, because I've known, I think everyone that I must do anything around or with, it's been in my life for at least 10 years at this point. Which I find is such a blessing. I have a couple friends where they've been around for 20 years, and that's really nice too, to have those friendships. I appreciate you still being around. I'm not an easy person. I'm not easy at all.
I've been telling people all week. I was like, Joi does not have just lattery times.
I just run out of the capacity to deal with bullshit, I think. Or my patience comes from a place of understanding that everybody is going to be exactly who they are. Right? But my patience runs thin when it's I know who you are and you want to tell me you're not this person. Can we just be honest with each other? And then, I have I'm bipolar, but I self-manage, and I don't take prescription medicines. I self-manage through different coping mechanisms, through art, through meditation, keeping a balanced diet, trying to get enough water, because that also messes up your health. So there are times when I get overwhelmed by my emotions, and it can just become very confusing in my head, and that leads to me becoming frustrated. And that frustration, when I'm there, if I don't notice that I'm there and that frustration forming, then it could just be really nasty around me for a little bit. So that's what it makes me a little hard to work with sometimes, but I'm working on it. It's a process.
Well, I would say first step is knowing, right?
Yeah.
You are aware of your capacity and what you cannot do. And that's honestly the greatest place to start.
I'm trying to be more honest about that, more just transparent about that, especially going into creative process with people. Ensemble work is really hard, especially when you're like me and you're just very, let's do this instead. Let's do that instead. I didn't like that. Let's do this other thing.
Fly by the seat of your pants artist. I think that's what I know that's what I love most about anything that you put up, especially at WoW, because I feel because WoW is such a performance space that allows you to not have to stick to one thing, one medium of expression, or even stick to what the original plan was for the show. I feel like you're very on board to experiment and be actually, I don't think this is working, even though it's scripted, even though this is what I had a vision for, let's switch it. And sometimes that work best with people who are also about that, because that is a skill set. Not everybody can. It's improv, right?
Well, it's a mixture of improv and just also understanding that over time in my life, I've always kind of had to adjust and be fluid in whatever I'm doing, because circumstances will always change. I think that's life, right? A lot of the time, some people used to be like, "Oh, you always have an excuse." And it's like, no, it's not an excuse that I'm late when the train literally sat on the tracks for 30 minutes because somebody decided to kill themselves today. You know what I'm saying? Like that is not an excuse. It's an actual thing that happened. It's a circumstance I had to adjust to, right? And I feel like with my art, because I write so much, like my brain is constantly thinking of stuff. I have books and books and books full of like snippets of things. Some stuff is complete, but like, so because I have so much in my mind, I'm always editing, even like as a performance poet and a singer or whatever. I'm good at improv when it comes to music and comedy or whatever. Yes, I can riff. But a lot of that riffing is like just having trained my brain for a long time to be fluid in its thoughts and always be able to kind of latch onto all these different concepts and see how they relate and understand that, like, okay, if I don't feel it here, then I need to do something else so that I feel it too, because I know if I'm not feeling it, then y'all not feeling it,
Right.
and like, what's the point if you're not feeling it? Like, that's just crazy.
I want to say, I know this is one of the questions that I prepared, but I did notice that, especially during Week of Free, I remember that you only get to do your piece the one time, but every time that section in the show would come up and you had decided to try a different painting or try a different piece, you always came back to motherhood. And I think that relates to this because you felt that that was the piece that people most resonated with.
Yeah.
I want to know, how did that feel body, and how are you letting that guide you to what will be performed this week?
The mother piece, I think I keep coming back to it because it feels good in my body. It's one of the most honest monologues I put together.
What the motherhood poem is, because or the piece is, because I know what it is, but I just realized people who are watching.
Okay. Right, because they don't know what this is. Okay, so I should probably tell you about the Quest for BlackJOY, which let me see if I can get this angle. So this is the mother. This is the mother. It's a painting that's actually called. The name of the painting is For the Mothers, for the Self-Made Mothers. And I kind of always come back to this piece, I think, because one, it's one of people in general always love this piece. I'm always told how impactful it is. There's actually several stores fighting to have it in their store, and I'm like, dude, just buy it.
And it's big.
Yeah, it's big. It's like
Let's go, because Joi got in an angle, and you gotta come to the show to see it. But
yeah, it's like the internet's never gonna do it justice. You know what I'm saying? You got to see these things in person. But so the motherhood piece, I think it's also because motherhood, like there's one of the lines I know I kept in the monologue the last two times I did it, is about how my motherhood led me to my humanity. Like it made me realize that I am not just this binary thing, or like it's not an either or situation, right? It's like when I became a mom, a lot of people, I lost a lot of friends and I lost a lot of people who were in my life, but also I lost a lot of myself because the world doesn't expect you to do more than this thing. We keep saying, like, the country will be like, oh, we care about the babies, but like y'all don't care about the women. You don't care, they don't care about the women when the babies are in our bodies. They don't care about the women when the babies are born. When the babies are born, like, I got people that used to ask me about my kids, and I'm like, you never even met my kids. Like, why are you even asking me? Because in their minds, like, now I'm a mom, so that must be my most important thing. And so that's the only thing they could think to talk to me about, right? A lot of my life got shaped through this motherhood lens where that was all that was expected of me. And for me to, anytime I thought about anything having to do with myself, both inside and outside of my marriage, there was always somebody telling me how bad that was, how wrong I am, how selfish I'm being. When we were getting divorced, my ex-husband lived closer to the kids' school than I was going to be living because I was renting a room in, like, all the way in Inwood, right? and they went to school in Harlem. So the practical thing that we thought of together as co-parents is you keep the kids. I'll be here every day. I picked them up from school every day. I had dinner with them every day, helped them with their homework every day. I stayed until they went to bed every single day. And then I usually went back out at night to do some art or to do a second job or something. But I would have women be like, oh, I can't believe you let him raise your children. And I'm like, they're his kids too. The fuck does that even mean? Like, why is it all on me? Right? Why is it always all on women to
We're still parents, even if we're not together. Like, you don't get so. Also, that's thinking about such an ownership way that I don't think I've ever clocked before in terms of the perception.
Yeah, there's a lot of loss, and then motherhood kind of opened me up to think about myself because now I got these people I know are watching my every move and they learn from what I do. So I was in a bad marriage and I was miserable, and I started to question, what was I teaching them about love for themselves and with other people. I was always overworking myself. I worked 2 jobs for like 4 years. I had 2 full-time jobs and a sick husband, and I was exhausted all the fucking time. And that made me question, like, how much do I value myself? What is am I thinking about my health? Right. So motherhood allowed me to start questioning the aspects of myself, especially when I would see personality traits of mine pop up in my kids that I didn't like, that I thought were ugly. I was like, where did you get that from? And then I would recognize, oh, that's me. I do that. And so it made me like really analyze myself. And there's a lot of relearning that goes on inside and outside of your body about how do I move through the world now. I would keep jobs, and jobs would not be willing to compromise to say I could leave at 4:00 so I could pick up my kids by 5:30. They'd be like, why can't somebody else do it? Or like, oh, well, I'm just going to put you on this late shift. Yeah, but it wasn't important to anybody else. It was only supposed to be important to me, or like to the jobs that understood that it was important to me. What they did was said, well, we're just going to make you work nights so that we don't even have to interrupt you at all. And I'm like, what? Like, who wants to work until 3:00 in the morning? That's why I was meeting nothing but trash people. It was like my leisure time was 3 a.m. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody to meet that's decent at 3 a.m. So like,
instead of you doing 2 jobs at once during a 12-hour span, that means your work, like the amount of work that you're doing and the amount of emotional labor that you're putting out, now extends to 20 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
that math is not.
That math don't math, right? Like, it don't math, because it'd be like, when am I supposed to sleep? When am I supposed to eat? You know what I mean? Like, I cook dinner, and once dinner's finished, now I gotta wash the dishes, because for a long time the kids weren't old enough to wash dishes, and then when they were old enough to wash dishes, they do it badly, so you just gotta do it again. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, people don't realize how much time and energy goes into being a mom, but also remembering that you're a person. You're a whole fucking person. You know what I mean? If you had goals, there are goals that people expect you to abandon. Or people expect you to just overexert yourself. Like, go to school, be a parent, and have a job. Nigga, what? That's ridiculous,
So can we tell the audience what Quest for BlackJOY is and what inspired this fruition of this piece?
Okay, so I'm trying to not make it too long. Okay, so the Quest for BlackJOY is it's an interactive, immersive art cabaret. Originally, it was this story, this like intergalactic story that I wrote about, basically about my life and my journey through grief over the last couple of years. My dad was really sick for a long time. He had stage 4 cancer, and then he got dementia on top of that. And I was his caregiver for most of that time while dealing with my own life, my own trials and stuff. I was going through my own health stuff, and I was fighting with my landlord who didn't want to renew my lease because he didn't want Black people living there. I had gone through like all of this trauma with a roommate during the pandemic. And then I ended up having to move into a shelter. And when my dad passed, I was in a shelter. I used my savings for his funeral. And like, I still was doing all these dutiful daughter things, even, beyond the fact. So I also have an estranged sister. My dad was somebody in his life. His name was Patrick Adams. Blessings to him. I'm so happy to be his daughter. But like, he was big enough for the New York Times to do his obituary. So like, he was somebody, and he leaves like a generous catalog behind that, helps us break the cycle of generational wealth in my family. And my estranged sister had like come out of nowhere with all of this chaotic energy that just threw wrenches into the whole process and made everything way worse than it needed to be. And it really felt like a story that I think a lot of people could relate to, like us caring for others while trying to care for ourselves, or learning how to care for ourselves. Because ironically, in this process of grief, um, it wasn't until my dad left that I felt empty and realized that I needed to shore up my foundational self. And in exploring how I did that, I realized it's always been through my art that I tell my stories. It's always been through my art that I reconcile whatever's going on in my head, in my heart, in my spirit. And I think other people do too. So I wrote this play, and originally it was I did a stage reading. It's this intergalactic play. This woman basically like is taking care of her dad. He goes missing from the nursing home, and she ends up like going down there to find out what happens. And she has there's a Karen moment that happens with the receptionist. The police overreact, and this woman ends up having like a mental breakdown, but that mental breakdown actually activates latent superpowers that she didn't know she had. So she's transported across the universe to her home planet, and she finds out that she's actually like a galactic princess. And that part comes from me always saying that I'm a disco princess, because I am a disco princess essentially. I am, like, Google it. I don't have time to explain. But she finds out that she's like next in line, but in order to like claim the throne, she has to stop her sister, who's trying to spread colonialism throughout the galaxy to gain power. And the way that we do that, the way that she can do that, is by going back to Earth and harnessing Black joy on Earth, because Earth is the problem. Earth is the problem, right? And essentially, I find it like, for me, it's a story that tells like how I found my way back to life, because I really did feel invisible and empty. And like, I had been growing into Joi Sanchez for a minute. People knew who Joi Sanchez is, and could Google me and whatnot, but I didn't really understand how important, how much I was giving away in this process of caring for him and caring for like, and taking care of so much life at once. I was giving so much of myself away, and our lives were so tangled together. So when I started writing it, it was just really to express my frustration about feeling like I knew good things were coming, because for so long in my life, I've had a lot of challenges. Like, it's always like, it's almost like I'm Murphy's Law, you know what I'm saying? But my life for a long time was just like one challenge after another, after another, after another. My dad would always say to me, like, it's gonna get better. It has to get better. Like, you know what I mean? It might get worse for a little bit, but it will definitely get better. Everything bad gets better. And in writing that's kind of the moral of the story. It's about this woman who like is exploring herself, or the aspects of her humanity, through all of these different things on Earth that she interacts with. And at the end, it's really about keeping hope that your life has a purpose, that we're human beings. We all deserve to be seen. There's space for us to exist. There's no reason why we have to internalize what the world gives us about ourselves. Like, we can cultivate there's two main things I really want people to walk away with. And one is that It's a choice to be happy. You can cultivate joy in your life every day, and that will make all the difference in the world of how you see things. If you showing up for yourself is such a different feeling. Declaring that you want to live the life that you have, because it's like, think about it. How many times have you might say, I'm grateful to be alive. You might say, thank you for another day. But how often do you really say, I want my life, I want to live? And that's something that came up in this. So when it
a reading at
yeah. So yeah, the original play was a staged reading at the Hot Festival for Dixon Place last year. That was so cool, huh?
Yeah, too. So can you tell the audience what inspired the changes that have now occurred? It's not, the best way I can describe it is like we go on a fifth journey of Black joy through the of Black musicians, poets.
Yeah. So when LMCC, I'm one of the productions. Sometime last year, this was around the time of Dixon Place Festival. Wow, at a WOW meeting, we're like, we should do another festival of joy and resilience. Let's apply for this LMCC grant. So I was like, this would be a great opportunity to stage it. And I just picked dates. I wasn't thinking. I was like, let me pick these dates. It's June. It'll be nice outside. It's Black Music Month. You know what I mean? It'll be Juneteenth. I wanted to do something around Juneteenth. And also like around the time that my dad passed. So I like to be busy to deal with my shit. So we got the grant, but we didn't get notice about the grant till like March of this year. And so it was like, in me thinking, how can I stage this play? And yeah, some of my feedback from the audience and the cast of the original staging was that it was just too dense. It was way too much dialogue. I had to rewrite it. So I'm like, damn, I gotta rewrite a script and I gotta think of a set.
I was in
that. Huh? Yeah, you were in that. You were great. But like it really was like, you're not the only one. Like multiple people told me the same thing. Like, it's a great story, but like it's so dense and compact because I was creating all of this lore. So when I thought about how do I stage it, it really became like a time thing of like, what can I do that most closely resembles the world that I've thought up in my head? And also it'll get done and not be a shit show, because like if y'all don't like if it was really just me performing a play, like this would have been a whole other experience. So I thought about what I already do that I'm good at, which is cabarets. What I already have, which was a whole series of paintings. This series, the paintings on the walls right now are only half the series. They're only half the paintings in this series. I actually just brought down another one today to add to the wall because I have so much art.
For our gallery hours, which is 4 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Yes. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'll be here hanging out, playing music. You know, please come through. So yeah, let me just wrap up that question before we move to another question. I know I'm long-winded. There's just so much in this. So yeah, I know I said I was going to give you a 2-minute. I said I was going to give you 2 minutes, but you're not a 2-minute person. So I'm just letting you rock and throwing in what like. Thank you. Important. So continue what you were saying. I didn't mean to interrupt though. So yeah, when I thought about this, it was like earlier this year, I had done a thing called the Possibility, the Black Possibility, which is the main piece that inspired the entirety of this installation. I'll show it to y'all right here. This is the Black Possibility. It's a diptych, which means it's 2 canvases put together to be one image. And So this was actually commissioned by New York City Arts and Arts and Education Roundtable for Artist Salon. And when I thought about when I did it originally, it had like a prompt and people would interact with it by adding their possibility to the tree, because essentially what it's about is understanding that we are tangled up in a big mess. Okay, this is the world. This represents the history of the world. Now, white people might have started it, black people, whoever started it. It doesn't fucking matter at this point. But it really is a moment right now where we as people have the choice to care about each other. We have the choice to see each other. We have the choice to ignore each other, right? And the choices that we make as individuals, the way that we treat each other and ourselves, is essentially what creates the social, atmosphere that we all live in and share. And, it's been acknowledged that for years, there's a broken social contract that has occurred, and we can't keep ignoring it, because we definitely are at a turning point in history of like, what side of history do you want to be on? And so the Black Possibility is an invitation to everybody to consider, how do we individually contribute to a world that nurtures and protects Black humanity, that allows every person to know that they are valid and worthy of their existence. White people are in on this because y'all matter. You know what I mean? And they're starting to see there's a lot of people being like, protesters are now being classified as terrorists. What the fuck is that? You know what I mean? And so that's what the garden comes from. It's an idea that like there's space for us to find each other's humanity and hold on to that if we so choose to. And that's the only way I really feel that we can move forward in the world and create a better future is with the consideration and that kindness that we're lacking, and that we're obviously lacking as a society. Sorry, I get a little emotional when I think about it. So yeah, each of the paintings in the series, I'll sorry people on YouTube, this laptop is very heavy. Y'all are just gonna have to watch me walk around the space. So I'll give y'all a quick tour. I'm gonna start with so this is the Black Possibility Tree. This is where we start. We say our prayers and our reverence. We give thanks to just to the ancestors for like holding us. Let's go counterclockwise. I usually start here with Zora, the Urban Explorer. She is, hey Danny, I love you too. She is a poem based around Zora Neale Hurston, because she's one of my favorite writers. And this one is really talking about, this poem talks about how there is kind of a backlash now that Blackness is showing up in the world in all these different ways in spaces that weren't created for Blackness. They weren't created for people that aren't of, whiteness. They just weren't. And when we show up, people like don't like it. I experience a lot of really weird stares on a daily basis because I wear flowers in my hair, right? I wear these flowers. And the flowers came from my grief of needing to show up in the world. I started wearing flower crowns when my dad died because I was still somebody. I had shows. And people didn't want to hear, oh, you're grieving? Oh, well. You know what I'm saying? Show must go on. So I started wearing flower crowns to make myself feel better. It made me smile. It made me feel good. It didn't make me feel sad. And people saw me. And what I notice now is that people see it. Like, people cannot ignore me anymore. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? How like sometimes you walk down the street and you're literally invisible to somebody that like could be walking right in your eyesight, and yet they will still bump your shoulder, or they will still not, right? They'll still not acknowledge that you are there. And it's something that's always annoyed me. So that's Zora. This one's called The Gold and this is called In Loving Color. It's inspired by the 90s, by like a lot of like the colors and composition is really inspired by like things like The Living Color, The Cosby Show, and, what's it called? Oh my God, what's that show I used to love? I know my A Different World. I had to sing the song real quick. Then we have more. This one is called Tap In. This is about basically finding my voice, finding myself in music, and always feeling like, if you notice up here, there's a little dove thing for the piece to represent the piece that I have, and then I do it with love, so the microphone is full of love. And then all of this is like, it's like I always feel like I'm being poured into. You know, I freestyle a lot. I have freestyled a lot, and I have improvised a lot, but like a part of that improvisation is just a lot of like thinking, lots and lots of thinking. Like people look at this whole installation that I've built here, and somebody was like, "How long did this take you to build?" And I was like, 8 months. And they're like, "What? You were only up there for a week?" And I was like, "Yeah, I put it together in a week, but I've been thinking about how to put this together for months. You know, what it would look like, what it would feel like, how would I arrange these things." This is Joi Sanchez. It gets its name to honor John B. the Genie from Pee-wee's Playhouse, because at the time, I grew up with Pee-wee's Playhouse. A lot of us did, but something you didn't notice it or recognize until earlier is that, or later in life, is that John B's character was literally the only Black queer representation on TV in the 80s and 90s, right? And it's like you don't realize how like when you're a kid, you probably didn't think, oh, Johnny's gay, right? You didn't think that. But Johnny had this energy about him, and Johnny's messages were always about self-love and you knew Johnny was Black though. You know what I'm saying? Even though they made him green, you knew he was Black. So it was just like, for me, again, like representation matters when we talk about these things. When what's happening right now with this DEI shit, where like everybody that's not white, everybody that's white is pissed off. What? Y'all owned everything for fucking ever. For fucking ever. You're mad because we want to be mermaids and we take the fuck out of here. Stop it. I don't understand why some of us need to own everything or have control over everything. So Jabi is like about the imagination. There's another really great poem here. And all of these poems, like everything, all of these pieces are evolved pieces. So they were something else before they became this. And all of that evolution only happened over the last 2 years, where like the more I learned about myself, the more I tested my limits and believed I could do whatever's in my mind, and pushed and pushed and pushed. This is Negra Savaria. A lot of people like to think that this is me. This is not me. Okay, I do not look like that naked. That is not me. That is somebody else who will remain nameless. Anyway, but this one is about, it does take its name from the Venus de Milo. I wanted to do something to challenge the classics, because in classic art, you don't see a lot of naked Black people. You don't see a lot of naked Black bodies, brown bodies. Degas kind of got into it with the girls in the, like he had some stuff, but whenever you think about masters, like the masters in classics of painting, there aren't a lot of Black bodies, even though like Grecian bodies look like Black bodies, or like, I don't know. It just, I never see any praise of the body. But this is also about, it's not just about the body, it's not about sex, it's really about freedom and pleasure and joy, sensuality, imagination. Like this girl is creating, she's created herself. You know, she's made her own blueprint, and she's kind of like a part of the universe, like directly connected. She creates her own joy and her own beauty and her own energy, right? Her own energy field, so it radiates off of her. You know, no one can take her energy from her. No one can say that she can't enjoy her life. She is living her best life, no matter what she does, because she creates that, and she knows that she's the master of her own happiness, and architect of her own happiness, I should say. This one is this is Millennial Jigaboo. This is one of my earlier pieces, and it's really based around the initial question that drives my art, which is the juxtaposition between being Black and being joy. right? I'm a black, as a black woman named Joy, I'm queer, I'm a mom, all of these identities either conflict or in the world, they're always attacked. And essentially that's what the quest for Black Joy is to kind of get us to understand that like Black people we've had to teach ourselves how to cultivate joy in our lives every day, all day, because the world doesn't want us to just exist, right? But it's also like an offer to people who aren't Black to be like, think about this for yourself. Like, how does your humanity play? Because it's really, and this is a line I've been keeping in lately, and I do plan on keeping it in either at the beginning or the end this week. But I say something to the effect of, this isn't about me being Black. This is about me being whole and human. This is about me existing in the body and space that I occupy without the resistance to something that's real. It's about me believing that I do exist and I have the right to exist, and you see me. Like, you see me. Now, you don't see me in your image. You don't see me as something you projected. You see me as I am and as I present myself, and you believe my truth when I stand there. Speaking of, lastly, we have shadows. This one is usually about, my sister made these trees. I have to fix that one, but my sister made these trees. So I guess I'm gonna tell this. I'm really thankful to everybody that came to help me with this, but I was like out here losing my mind. Like, y'all have no idea. And the back is still a mess. So that's going to go here. So this one is about, I used, so these pieces of upcycled, the upcycled magazine poem, it comes from all of those excerpts from the Jay-Z booklet of his Brooklyn Museum exhibit. I thought it was really, I wanted to like parallel that type of greatness that I see in myself, but also it's like just Jay-Z's whole trajectory is, I think, a shining example of what our adversity builds in us, what kind of magic is held in us. You know what I'm saying? Because 20 years ago, nobody thought Jay-Z would have ever married Beyonce. Like, dreams do come true. Okay? But the words itself is really about understanding. The words in the poem are talking about how, not just cultural appropriation, but how we are culturally consumed to be the baseline. Like, everything that Black people create, somebody somewhere comes and is like, oh, we need that as kids. You know what I mean? Like, what are boxer braids? Oh, you need cornrows. Right? What are BBL? They fat asses that you used to not like. So it's like everything I grew up, this painting and the poem in this painting and Millennial Jigaboo are kind of about the same thing. Where it's like, I'm trying to figure out how these conflicting ideas fit and actually work in the world, right? Within me. Because you're gonna tell, I grew up hearing everything about me is something that people did not like. And I would say, aside from my nose, everything about me right now is something that people want. It's something that people are paying thousands of dollars and risking their lives for. Because I've always, you know what I mean? And it's weird to me. So the other part about this is that it's also about the connection that I feel like we all have when we pay attention to it, when we understand that we're the trust and faith that you put into yourself, into believing whatever you're doing in the world, really is like amplified and returned by the universe in the form of like your ancestors always protecting you. Like, I don't know, even before my dad died, like the more I like walked away from what I'm supposed to do what made me feel full and made me feel happy and whole and like let me have a life, spend time with my kids and just do anything I want to do. The more I found that, and this is something else my dad would always say, but the more I found that the universe really did conspire on my behalf. That every energy I put out into the world was always returned to me in the form of protection, in the form of support, in the form of love or friendship. I always got what I needed when I needed, and usually better than I had ever dreamed of it, because I kept my eyes on this idea. And and just kept moving forward in faith. You know what I mean? Oh, I didn't show y'all this. I didn't show you my sculpture. This is my first attempt at sculpture. I've never actually done sculpture. She's one of my favorite pieces I've ever made. And it's called Body of Evidence, the love, the beauty within. So if you can't see the poem here, I got nervous about sharing the poem last year because it really does go through a lot of my life traumas. And then I decided not to share it. But if you get up close to it, you can read it. You can read it up close. But then when you turn her around, like, again, this is based off life experience, so it's not supposed to be super beautiful from the front. From the outside, I want the outside to look a little bit decayed and a little bit used and a little bit like run down and beat up, because that's really how I feel. That's how I felt for a very long time. But then to understand, oh, she also lights up. But then to understand that inside of me is just all of this beauty that has collected and grown for years, because I learned from everything that has ever happened to me. I didn't ever decide to treat people the way they treated me, you know, like I just chose to be the bigger person. And as much as that hurts sometimes, right, in the long run, it's made me so much more gracious and patient and kind and compassionate. And it's also like just blessed my life with really good people in it that rarely hurt me anymore. You know, at least not on purpose. No one hurts me on purpose anymore, or with the intention. Nobody comes and even gets near me with the intention of trying to hurt me. And a lot of that is just, again, to kind of visualize the idea of what you take in is what develops and grows in you. There's a lot of like tea bags with all of these inspirational quotes and like, I don't know if you can see like my fortune cookie fortune, things like, it'll say like, what's it say? Oh, the dance, let the joy be unconfined. That's a quote by Mark Twain, which is like, you know what I mean? But it's about what I chose to ingest. You know, anybody who ever sees me, likes my work or likes my poetry, likes like anything that I do and asks me how I do it, I just learn. I take in things that you know, make me better. Oh, up here, this is the LIP. This is LIP, and that stands for Live in Peace. It's just, that was, I think this might have been the first one in the large collection that I did back in the summer of 2020. This was definitely like shortly, it's like fall 2020, or maybe early 2021. But it's very self-explanatory. It's just a black body, and it's about, it used to be called All Black Bodies Go to Heaven. But it basically asks a question about when we'll be able to live in peace instead of dying in it, instead of resting in it. Like, I want to live in peace. I want to live in joy. And that's what I want for everybody. I don't think we should have to have some type of traumatic ass death when we're minding our business to, you know, finally get to enjoy something that looks like peace. I think that's all the pieces.
Look like, or even the name, necessarily, and sometimes find create.
Okay, you're going in and out. I didn't really hear that whole question.
Please, can you hear me? So, the question was that I love that you mentioned repurposing your paintings and bring my next question about repurposing, because get a grant from the thank you. Theater. Joi Wow Festival for 2024. So I wanted to know what made it, because we are partially funded by LMCC and we've gotten generous donations that have come through and made available to MFTA members, because WOW is also a material for the arts member. How has having access to these two resources changed the way you envision the scope of this piece?
Wow. Honestly, the grant is what made it possible. I don't believe that I could have done this without that grant. I couldn't, because it is a lot. And without MFTA, I would have needed a lot more grant money, like a lot more, you know. But that's why I really value MFTA though, because something I personally believe and try to practice is to be as little waste as possible. And also I have like a personal philosophy. I don't think that people are trash or disposable, right? I'm very anti-cancel culture. I don't believe like you make a mistake and we should like, you don't exist anymore. That's ridiculous. Okay. You're still here. I love MFTA for the fact that it is like, over the years, and not just with this show, but over the years, like the resource that MFTA has been, not just for my personal art practice, producing my shows, but also for like teaching. I teach sometimes in the summer, I teach art classes for free in the Bronx to kids around. I have a curriculum called Creating with BlackJOY, which basically focuses on self-development, but also utilizing what you have at hand to cultivate joy in your daily life, and through a creative practice. And MFTA just made that so possible, like so possible, where last year there were kids and adults who never like had any type of access to creative like practice, and these are things that like cost money. Bell Hooks has a really great essay in All About Art about not only the necessity of money, but talking about the reason that art has been so inaccessible is because it costs money. It costs money, but it also costs time. It costs space. And like between WOW and LMCC and MFTA, like this really is the most ambitious thing I've ever been able to pursue. And I mean, I am so proud of myself, like so incredibly proud of what I've created. And it just wouldn't be possible. Like there's like no alternative. I like really was trying to, and you've been a part of like some of these production meetings where I'm like, yo, I don't even think this is enough money. Like it's not even really enough money, but like it's enough. It was enough to like at least like
the ambitiousness
yeah
of your vision.
Yeah, it really it allowed me to bring my vision to life and really do it justice. I think that I know that without the grant money, there's certain like little things I wouldn't be able to get, but without MFTA, I wouldn't have half of the set. Like, matter of fact, a lot of these paintings, this painting right here, which is called Selfish, that painting, I don't know if you could see. All right. I just want to push out a closer look. But that's not what I meant to do. But if you notice like the intricacy of the hair, this is all this is like a satiny yarn that I got from MFTA. These are from MFTA. The crystals. Some of these flowers came from MFTA. That whole mannequin piece thing, all of that came from MFTA. I got these like branches from MFTA. These are from MFTA. The fabric for the tabletop, yeah, all of this came from MFTA. All of that. Shout out to them. Like like, yo, I must have gone to MFTA like 17 times in the last 2 months. They're so sick of me. Like every time I come back, they're like, again? I'm like, yes, again. Like, I need more stuff. I need more stuff.
Or last said 17 times in total, but 6 last week.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I went to all the movie shops, all the off-site shops. Like I really, really, I was able to just find every little thing that I could think of. It just like kind of appeared. It was just like, we're right here at MFDA. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Thank you. Like, yeah, it really is an invaluable resource, and I wish it existed like in other cities for other artists, because before I started going to MFTA, I was just like making stuff or whatever I can get my hands on. I really couldn't afford. I was making like 2-color paintings because I could only afford 2 colors of paint, and I would like cut them open. You know what I'm saying? When they get really low, I just cut them open and I'm mixing water in, and really, really just kind of making it work, because I was so dedicated to this idea that I have something to contribute to the world in my art. Time will tell if that's true. So let's see. We'll see.
My last question, because we're like, so you have a performance coming up the 20th, the 22nd, and the 23rd, and then the jam session. Can you talk to us about the jam?
Yes, I can talk to you about the jam. So every year.
Wait, I'm not
finished. Okay, sorry.
What do of performances?
Can you ask that again? I only heard half of it.
I said, what are you taking into this week of performances?
I'm taking a lot. I can't say that on live.
It's supposed to be a closing answer, but do you?
No, I'm taking a lot of patience with myself and others. Taking breath, some organization, and like a clearer vision. Like every night we've done it, I have a better idea of how to connect these paintings in a way that isn't alienating. Because I think that's always been the hardest part for me. Not just as a Black artist, but like it's really because I'm a Black artist, right? Because there's things I made, like that millennial jigaboo, which scares the shit out of white people until I start talking to them about it, and they're like, oh. But like nobody wants to put that shit on their wall, so it's just like, or like when I used to do poems, at first for a very long time, my poetry could easily be just classified as angry Black women rants. And they loved hearing about it, but no one liked talking to me. It made me very uncomfortable to talk to.
Why did you do this poem or said something specifically that resonated with me?
Yeah.
The performance as a persona versus like the performance being a jumping point to get to know you as a person.
Right. Right, exactly. That's the whole point. So, I take that this is definitely a more palatable presentation. I also take some pride with me and like excitement. I don't know what this week is gonna hold. We have a whole new cast, not a whole new cast, but we have a couple new cast members coming in. I do have some surprise guests jumping in here and there, so that's exciting. June 21st. So people ask me about this too. June 21st is a yearly celebration called Make Music New York that usually happens on the solstice in the summer and in the winter. So my dad passed away on the solstice. and so it's just become this day where I kind of want to just be surrounded by music. I don't want to have to work too hard. or think too much. I want to be able to just like create something that we can all feel and connect in through connect our humanity, feel, be a community in. So this year I registered us as a venue, and we'll be doing an open jam session all day. Doors will open about 11:45. Well, no, doors will open at 12. Doors will open at 12. And we have DJs coming. So there's a whole website where musicians of all kinds, all types of performers actually, you can sign up on the website and connect with a venue. So you can choose the venue that you want to perform at, but then also venues can choose the artists that they want to perform at their venues. So, I took some time and I have a nice little lineup of artists that I've only listened to their stuff on the internet, but we've had conversations around like BlackJOY and what it is and what we're doing. And it's just like, I'm going to have a full back line. So anybody who can come between 12 a.m. and 10 p.m. And there are people, I'm sorry, yeah, from noon to 10. So there are people like that are scheduled to perform at certain times for about half an hour to an hour. But between those acts are like spans of like an hour here and an hour there. You know what I mean? So during those open times, I do have like some fellow musicians coming in, because I play the drums. I don't play them well, but I do play the drums well enough to jam, because I'm still learning. It's a process, you know what I mean? But we've invited like other musicians, people that I work with all the time, to just come in and sit and we'll jam and we'll make music. And if you come during that time and you feel so moved to play, to plug in and play with us, or to like get on the mic and freestyle, or like, do whatever you're gonna do, that space, the space is there for that. And we'll just make music all day long in celebration. And I really wanted to do it also because it's the summertime. It's going to be very hot, and I know that WoW could be a nice place for people to just cool down, and get a little bit of relief. It's supposed to be like 90 degrees on Friday, maybe 95, something like that. There's a heat advisory all weekend, so we will have the AC on. We will have cold drinks and ice, popsicles, and we'll have some food to snack on. People can buy food and drink on the premises, but like, really, I just wanted to create an atmosphere that's comfortable. People can also just come in and interact with the art, and not feel so obligated to the show, because the show can get intense. I'm told I get a little intense during some of those monologues. So um so yeah, like, I and it's free. Friday is a completely free day. There's no charge for entry. You just come and grab a seat. We'll probably have some of the tables out too. But yeah, come by, grab a seat, have something to eat, cool down, listen to good music. We've got all types of music. There is, I'm looking at it right now. So we're going to have Cactus Rose, who does Native Americana music, acoustically. We have Robert Ramson, who is an amazing saxophonist and instrumentalist. Copacetic Kid, who's doing hip hop and rap. We have Pickles and Ice Cream, which is a funk dance band, and that sounds like so much fun. We have an acoustic blues band, and then we have like some weird electronic music later in the evening. But again, we have all of these like open spots as well where people can just kind of come and make music. We might have a DJ spinning. I'm not sure. He hasn't confirmed yet, but it's going to be a good time. And if you've never, when you walk around on the 21st, you'll notice that there's people making music everywhere. And we are too. We're just doing it inside because it's hot out there and I'm too old for that.
I thought this through and I
just like, I'm too old for that.
Thanks for joining me, Joy.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This was fun.
So I'm excited to be teching and also get to see the show. So this week's show is June 20th to June 24th. with the exception of June 21st, which will be the Make Music Jam sessions happening from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. And doors open at 30 for the Quest for BlackJOY Volume 2, and the show starts at 7 p.m. The show all around is about an hour and 30. It's really clocking at like an hour and 11.
Yeah. So it's not a long show. I really, I didn't want to do something that was drawn out, and I feel like I've always wanted to do a one-woman ensemble show. I don't like the idea of like making a show that's all about me. It feels awkward. Like, yeah, my art's about me, but also my art isn't about me. But like when it comes to performance, if I'm the only one performing, I feel very awkward and judged and self-conscious. So we've got amazing people this week. I'm so excited.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
And
bye.
Behind me.
Somebody the other day asked me under one of my videos, how do you deal with people's perception of you? You don't. It quite literally is not your responsibility to redefine what somebody thinks about you. Or
thank you for joining me. If you saw it, you did it. It's all good. Appreciate you.
Able to like stereotype you based off of one experience. And I always tell people that I never allow somebody's perception on me or just overall opinion on me to skew how I view myself personally, just because how are you going to tell me about myself when I'm an expert? We have a master's, a doctorate, and an undergraduate degree in market psychology. So a lot of times you'll run into these people that have had one experience with you or just overall like distasteful experience or a good experience, and they will generalize this opinion onto you and almost put you in a box.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that's crazy. You feel such a way that you had to go back to the past to remove yourself. These children, I'm telling you. Wow, that's crazy. You feel such a way that you had to go back.